Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about the 5 habits that changed my life. Now obviously, it's not this most incredible, life-changing, super complex, oh my goodness, euphoria type of feeling, but these habits really did kind of push me onto the right track, and I just wanted to share them with you. Maybe you'll take 1 or 2. I also have a bonus, so it's really 6 habits that changed my life. Starting at number 1, dopamine detoxing. So with dopamine detoxing, I never go to the extremes. It's usually a small ritual I like to implement in my life every now and again when I feel like I'm being overconsumed by content. You know the guys online that say, oh, you need your screen time to be less than X amount of hours or you'll never be successful. Honestly, I think it's a little BS, especially since most work environments call for using technology nowadays. The way I dopamine detox is by having sessions. I don't force myself to do this if I really don't want to. The last time I did this was just last week. For some reason, I felt like I was way too overstimulated. It was my day off and I randomly decided not to use my phone for like 4 hours. Now, I was on my computer for an hour in the session, but I promise I was doing my homework. I went to the store without my phone, I went to the gas station, I cleaned my car, I did my laundry, all without the use of my phone. It felt so great that while I was in the gas station filling up my car, I looked down and saw that the time was 5:45. 30 seconds later, I realized I was going to be late for my class that started in 15 minutes. I literally lost track of time because I usually only need to look at the time when I have my phone. Another way I dopamine detox is by deleting certain apps for an extended amount of time. Like recently, I re-downloaded TikTok as a reward for completing a semester at school. And the reason why I deleted it in the first place was because it was eating up like 2 hours of my time a day. I know this isn't as bad as other people's times on the app, but for me, finals were coming around and I really needed to lock in. This isn't my first time deleting it. I also deleted it late December or early January, and I didn't download it back until March. I spend my time on other apps like YouTube, which can be a little bit more educational than the short form apps. TikTok is definitely not the only app that gets deleted. Instagram is way too deadly for me too. I think honestly Instagram is worse than TikTok nowadays. The reason why is because you actually interact with people you've seen in life, like people from your past or people who you want to see in the future. Like, I don't use TikTok to communicate with other people. It's just a social media for random people, random trends. Instagram is dangerous because I have to look at other people's perfect life while I'm still trying to grind out mine. Now, you can get that during TikTok, but it's so much easier to swipe away than having this overwhelming sense of inferiority that, like, I'm not afraid to admit when I go on to Instagram. The other day, I was on it, and I saw an old friend like a post from this person we knew in high school, and it triggered familiar feelings from the past, and I just had a bad day for the rest of the day. I don't know why I got triggered. I try to stop it. I try to look at the positive and do the affirmations, but I was so enraged at that point. I think we doubt how much certain videos bring out emotions in us. It's propaganda. And I don't know if I mentioned propaganda in my other videos a lot, but I use this term to describe any video, whether on the news, advertisement, or social media, that inspires an actionable emotion. If you ever take time to notice, you're not just getting dopamine from content. You're getting a wave of emotions. And this is fine when it's controlled. But once this is uncontrollable, I have to make the executive decision to let everything go. The second habit is going to the gym. Going to the gym isn't something new in the self-help space. In fact, it's probably the only thing most gurus talk about. But the way I go about it isn't the normal, let me wake up and grind so I can get a leaner and hot. I'm not going to the gym just so I can alter my looks. I'm going for the chemical and emotional feel. Have you ever wondered why so many athletes are cocky and downright obnoxious? It's because of adrenaline. Now, you can't necessarily get this from the gym alone. At least I don't. I do get it from competitive sports. The one sport I do like to do is boxing. And I can't really do it super often because of school and work, but in the summers, I like to go for the feeling. There's no better feeling than being in the ring, dodging punches, and hitting back. I wouldn't recommend boxing for everyone. I do think it's kind of like a special kind of people sport, but if you're looking for a competitive sport, I would try softball or kickboxing or tennis. Honestly, even basketball, anything that sparks competitiveness while using physical strain produces adrenaline, I think. This feeling carries throughout the day, and if you train enough times, it can leave a lingering sense of self that you just can't get from walking on the treadmill. 3, reading. Reading should not be a skill that people learn when they're in their 20s, but it is. My reading comprehension throughout grade school was horrendous. I just liked math more, so I just focused on that. Now that I'm older, I realize the benefits I get from reading. I have more things to talk about with friends. I have more things to post online. My knowledge doesn't come from other people's opinions. It doesn't come from misinterpreted information from news sources. The special thing about reading is that I have a collective understanding about one topic. For me, of course, it's self-help. I've read way too many books on this topic alone. Last year, I believe I read around 50 books, not just on self-help. That's kind of a book a week, even though I definitely did not read a book a week. Sometimes I read 3 books in 1 week, and they could have been short, like 100 pages each. And sometimes I only read a book in a month. To me, reading was a chore when I first started. In fact, any good habit that you start will feel this way. The problem that most people have is that they want to read. The same way people want to go to the gym or want to eat healthy. The trick is to make it so simple that it has to be done. Habit stacking helps too. The way I started reading was by reading a page a day right before I went to do something I really wanted to do. If I wanted to doom scroll or play video games, right before I would do that, I would literally just read 1 page, not even front and back. I think this made me like reading a little bit more. Number 4, looks maxing. Now, I'm going to get cooked for even bringing this up, but looks maxing did really kind of help me out in life. I think when people hear this term, they think of someone who is very insecure or shallow. Honestly, the term does kind of have a negative connotation towards it, but only if it's taken so far. I don't think focusing on your looks is more important than any other positive self-help actions like reading or going to the gym, but I do think it's important for growth a little bit. We live in a physically shallow world, the truth. Most people do judge a book by its cover. As important as it is to do the inner work, I think it's as important to do the external ones too. As I develop more into myself, I noticed that I can give slightly less effort than before. I don't have to be the funniest person in the room. I can be myself because people respect the effort I put into myself, even if they can't consciously understand that. Now, looks maxing does not involve intensive medication or a lot of money. You just kind of need a couple things. For me, having a good skincare routine was helpful. Having acne as a teenager really made my self-confidence go down. So having a clear face did the opposite. Next, finding a good hairstyle. Something that can be done in less than 10 minutes in the morning. Your hair takes up like 40% of your head, so I think it's definitely a part of your character trait. Third, grooming. Listen, if monkeys groom each other as a part of social hierarchy, then I think humans have the same underlying function. Shaving, clipping, plucking, etc. It's simple and oftentimes only takes a few minutes. Lastly, finding a new wardrobe. Many people struggle in this category because a new wardrobe is expensive. The best advice I can give a person is to look on Pinterest. Find someone who looks like you. Yes, you kind of got to do a little stalking, and then just copy their look. If you find a couple people with your height and other demographics, you can mix and match to find a unique style. For me, I've fallen in love with the business casual look. Something about looking like a rich lady's kid in a polo and baggy jeans really makes me happy, but it's important that you find your style too. By no means do I mean jaw-breaking or doing anything dangerous out of an insecure mentality. I simply mean finding your style, putting your looks together, not walking on the house with your PJs, and brushing your hair and teeth. 5, doing things for my future self. I think we as a society focus on other people's lives more than our own. Who has what mental diagnosis, who's insecure, who's dating who, etc., etc. I think it's really important for me to shift that attention back to myself. While I was scrolling online, getting research for this video, I heard about this thing called a type A and B personality. Now, this isn't new. I remember watching a science video a decade back about this, but it is trending. Basically, type A personality can be defined as someone who has a strong ambition and desire to succeed. Someone with the type B personality is more go with the flow. They're laid back and easygoing and social. I then saw another video where this guy was explaining how you need to have a type A personality when it comes to planning your life, and it kind of resonated with me. Essentially, when I have something I need to do, I write it down. I have a checklist, and then I go do it. If I have something that I have to do in the future, I start today. For an easy example, instead of waiting for the day before a test to study, you might want to break up the sessions a week in advance. For me, it's not easy studying every day, but it's calmer to know that I already started. Or maybe when I'm writing an essay, I just do an outline a week before. I'll write down the hooks, the main points, and the quotes I want to use. You can translate this into everyday life. This is adopting personality A traits. Help yourself do the tasks that you really don't want to do. If you have to go to the gym, pack your gym bag and put it in the car the night before. If you have to do laundry, just gather all the clothes prior. Place your wallet and keys in the same spot so it's easy to find them in the morning. Charge your phone at night or get gas before it's on E. Doing small, simple things for your future self is honestly the best feeling, especially when you've forgotten you've done it. There has been so many times where I've gotten into my car expecting it to be on E, but then I actually saw that I filled up the tank the evening before. Honestly, this is more telling on my short-term memory, but it's still a good thing. Stop procrastinating. I promise you, waiting for the last minute doesn't help. It just puts you in a state of worry. You use most of your mental energy doing something under stress. At least I do. I'm not super rigid when it comes to the bigger stuff, especially when it's costly, but I do hate sweating the small stuff. And the bonus one, number 6, spending on my friends and family. I was reading this book called Laws of Power, and one of the chapters, the author goes over the worth of money. When you are a liberal person, and I'm not talking politically, I'm talking about giving back to others, you become admirable. The worth of money is not in its possession, but in its use. I once had this friend that didn't want to spend money on anything. I would take them out, and they didn't want to eat. Or if we went to a carnival, they would buy the cheapest thing. At first, I thought it was because they couldn't afford stuff. I was patient and offered to do other cheap thrills. After a few months of this, I called it quits. Now, I know what some people might say. Maybe I should have been more respectful. But you know what? If I'm going to be friends with somebody, I want them to be able to share things with me. Not just money, but experiences. I try to make an effort to give back to my friends and family. I want them to feel good for having me in their life. Now, I don't want praise or, them to be like, oh my goodness, I'm going to take all your money for what it's worth. But a little admiration and respect is always nice. What I feel like people don't understand is that if you're not giving something to somebody, at least every once in a while, you're most likely just taking away from them. Giving doesn't have to just mean money. It can be something that you don't need anymore. It could be a piece of gum. If you're in no use of a specific item and it makes you think about another person, give it to them. Just the other day, I was going to the club with my new friends, and I dropped almost $60 just to fill up my friend's car. Then I drove for an hour. In support, they paid for my tickets to get in, and then they drove me home while I was frantic and drunk in the back seat. Thinking about my other friend, he would have never done that. At the time, they didn't drive, and he would have never filled up my tank. When it comes to family, I think giving back is important too. Even though I moved out, I still come up and check on everybody. I don't give money away, but you can find me helping out with the dishes or folding laundry or even taking out the trash. I try not to do tit for tat, but I often see how you're rewarded when you give to a generous person instead of someone who believes that they're abundant and deserves more from you. Looking good should not consume you, nor overeating or running away from your problems in the gym. Self-help is not supposed to make your life perfect. It's supposed to make it efficient. I guarantee I will stop doing at least one of these habits sooner or later. life will get in the way and I will have to focus on the problems at hand. It's not about forcing myself to do these. It's just a reminder that doing certain habits can reap really good rewards internally and externally.